So if you're into your gaming and you're serious about having a really good frame rate with very little throttling and just maintaining consistent performance, then the RedMagic phones I have been for the last couple of years now testing out and think they're the phones to get for you Android gamers out there. And the RedMagic 10 Pro here, the updated new model here, is no different to those other models because it's got, well, the top gaming performance that you want and a very nice package. So this has a larger battery now, 7,050 milliamp hours. We have 100-watt charging. It's got some changes to the cooling. They've even decided to use liquid metal now that you normally see in top-end gaming laptops. The screen, 6.85 inches, very large, tiny little bezels. It's flat and it has no ugly notch or cutout. An under-display camera, which gives, yes, subpar performance when it comes to selfies. I'll warn you about that now, and you're probably aware that under-display cameras, they're getting better, but still not like a traditional camera. And then, of course, the Snapdragon 8 Elite, latest and greatest, improved performance. It's an overall package that I think, if you're serious about your gaming frame rates, definitely worth a look here, the RedMagic 10 Pro, as you'll find out in my review. Now, apart from the phone, what else do we get included with the RedMagic 10 Pro? Well, a Type-C cable, and that's Type-C to Type-C. Charger, 100 watts, and it's just the Type-C connection. There's no Type-A on there at all. And this is good to see that they even give us a case here. So it's a case that's a hard style plastic one that just clips onto the back. So it's offering a little bit of protection for the corners, as you can see. But that is it. And you still see most of the phone. I'll just clip it in here, the back of that and the sides still exposed. And you can see why they've done it, so you can get access to the capacitive touch buttons there. But that's what it looks like with the case. There's a warranty card and just off camera a SIM tray tool. So I'm a big fan of this design. I think it's really good. With all those curved screen phones, and you find that a lot of them have big, huge camera modules that stick out. Not the case here with RedMagic. I think the 10 Pro, they've done a good job. It's very similar to what we saw with the the 9S Pro, with this flat back on here. So we have a little cooling fan in there. Now this is the first phone that has the liquid metal too that they've used, the compound, just to try and to keep those thermals under control. Down the bottom here with our Type-C port, it does support video out. Now you get an extended mode with it or just a mirrored display. Our SIM tray takes just 2 nano SIMs. Unfortunately, no micro SD card support. We've got a loudspeaker here, antenna line, square frame. That's the intake there for the fan. Okay, and up the top, really good news here. So still got the 3.5mm headphone jack. For me, that's an absolute must with a gaming phone because you want to have no issues with latency. Bluetooth, there's always a fraction of a delay. Even the best Bluetooth headsets. Another loudspeaker there. Microphone, there's 3 in total. IR transmitter is there. And here we have our intake vent. Actually, it could be the other way around. This one could be the intake, the other one the exit. And then the 120 Hz capacitive touch buttons there. The triggers at the top. This is to switch into the gaming mode. Power on, another microphone, volume up and down. Very good build quality. Now, it is a little thick. This is not the thinnest phone out there that I have tested recently. So it's 8.9 millimeters, just shy of a 9mm. So, you know, it's a little chunky. Weight-wise, a little heavy too, 229 grams. But it has that enormous 7,050 milliamp hour battery, the largest I have seen in a phone of this size here. And that fan, the RPM on that one, if you're interested, so that's 23,000 RPM that can spin at in the maximum mode. There is some RGB in this too as well, if you're interested in that. So 50 megapixel ultra wide camera and a 50 megapixel main camera that does have optical image stabilization. There's a little tiny 2 megapixel camera here for portrait shots. LED flash right there. All up, I'm a big fan of the design. And then with the screen, we have the under display camera. So UDC there, that's 16 megapixels. And you can barely see it's there. Okay, it's very good. And I love this slim bezels and it's just all display. We're looking at a 1.5K screen here. Now, maximum brightness, they claim, could go up to 2,000 nits, all right? And have I been able to measure that with my Spider X Pro? I have not. I've been able to get 912 was the result I got. So still very bright. In direct sunlight, you can see now you can make it out. And I'll go into the settings here and just show you that under display, we've got a sunlight mode that I did turn on for that measurement. And you have the option here too as well with our refresh rate. Now, a lot of people just leave that on auto, but I love to see that. Look at all these options we've got here. So we've got 60, 90, 120, and 144 hertz. Obviously, the higher you go, the more of an impact on the battery life. And at 144, that's normally what the UI is running at in the auto mode. Super fluid. Now the fingerprint reader, this is an optical fingerprint reader. Now we get a lot of ultrasonic, but this optical one works fine for me, and I haven't experienced really any problems with it. It may occasionally not work out of, say, 10 times, like once, okay? So there's that 10% chance it's going to happen. But overall, I've been finding it fine, not really had any problems with it. Now there's one setting here that I do find very interesting that we got before with the previous model here. And that is if you go into the battery, you'll find that there's a lot of different options in here with a cooling fan and whatnot. But this one's interesting, and that is that you can have charge separation. And so what this does is it's not going to be charging the battery, it won't be heating up the battery, and it's using the power supply to power the phone, not the internal battery. And this removes that heat from the battery, and it allows the performance to go up a notch too as well and increase that performance. So if you're serious about your performance in your gaming, that's probably why you've got this phone anyway. So it's a nice option to have. And in general, it's going to be good for your battery health because it won't be touching the battery there at all. So we have the RedMagic AI. There's a few other things in here. Cooling fan options that you can go through, so you can put it into the faster cooling mode. You don't really hear it that much, but if you put your ear up to where the fan is, you will hear it. It's a tiny little fan in there, but overall, it does actually make a difference. And I pointed this out with previous RedMagic videos of mine, that you get a lot less throttling with the fan on. So it does serve a purpose. It's not like it's just there and it's not doing anything, because it really is. It's not just marketing crap that you get from a lot of other companies. So with the bloatware, is there a lot on there? Not really. There's a couple of things here that RedMagic has put on board. So you can see you've got hot apps, hot games, booking.com, and maybe one or two other things. Pretty lenient compared to some brands that like to cram in a lot of bloatware. Now, the Antutu score shows that it's got a lot of power here. I have seen slightly higher, but it's still very good, getting over the 2.5 million mark there quite nicely with a decent margin. Now, the best part is the throttling. There basically is no throttling because you can see here, well, just under 6%. That is it. So that, I think, is an excellent score here, considering you're getting a very good loop, but it maintains it, and you can see the performance. Only after 15, 16 minutes did it drop down a notch. It took that long to affect it, and we're talking about, well, just under 6%, which is very good. And you see the thermals here also remained good. We got up to 48 degrees. And remember, they got the liquid metal in here now. They put a lot of effort into the cooling on this with everything. So it does make a difference. Like I just said before, the fan, that is certainly helping out. It gets warm to the touch when gaming, but you'll see here again that these kind of temperatures are fine. Battery, we did lose 13%, which is a bit for 20 minutes of running this very demanding test, but I see similar kind of results when gaming too as well. Now the battery life, because of the 7,050 milliamp hour battery, is very good. So 10 hours and 14 minutes. This is at 144 hertz, so it's an excellent result here. And if you compare this to my other reviews I've done of the phones, this is a step up from other models. It's because of the slightly larger battery, and it's like the largest that I can think of off the top of my head that I have covered in recent times. So the charging at 100 watts to go from 1% to 100 took only 42 minutes for a 7,050 milliamp hour battery. That is an excellent result. And Geekbench 6 does show us that it's quite a powerful phone here, getting a very good multi-core score there, and the single core performance also excellent. Internal storage, this is UFS 4.1, and we're getting 4,000 for the sequential reads, and just over 3,500 megabytes per second for the sequential writes. Randoms are very high there too as well. All up, excellent speed from this phone, so nothing's going to be slowing it down when it comes to the hardware. The reverse of that. In fact, it's the best kind of hardware, the top level that you can get, and for a gaming phone, this thing absolutely flies, as you see. Now, when it comes to the RGB, you can see a little bit of it there. It's not too overwhelming. You've got the logo right here. You have the X, and then that 23,000 RPM fan exit vent right here. And the gaming triggers at the top also do have some RGB in. So you can flick the switch here, put it into the gaming mode, And you can also bring up the menu here just from swiping from the top corners. So if I swipe this twice, I can get into then the performance mode right here. And I've got it on balanced at the moment, but if you really want to push it, you put it onto rise. And rise will get it to push those thermals a little bit. It's going to heat up a bit, but it doesn't get crazy hot like we're seeing with some of the other models out there. So that Snapdragon 8 Elite here performs really well as expected. And I'm just a huge fan of the screen. I think RedMagic has done things right with the screen here being just so immersive. So in AMOLED, 144 Hertz, we've got a really good touch sampling rate of the 2500 Hertz, the instant touch sampling, and then the overall touch sampling rate is 960. Now the gaming triggers, to configure those, you simply just swipe at the top like the previous models. You go here, and this is per game. You can set the single tap, double tap, and I've got the left and right here to be my attacks and Genshin Impact. I find that that works best. Now you get some nice haptics when you touch those triggers. I find the haptics engine is good in this. Nice little pulses. They could be a little stronger. I wouldn't say it's the best haptics overall that I have felt, but it works well and they respond really good to touch. So they've got 520 Hertz is the sampling rate. And performance, pretty obvious here. We've got, 12 gigabytes of RAM here with my version. That Snapdragon 8 Elite is performing really well. I don't notice any lags, any slowdown. Occasionally in certain areas of the map, you will see that like little loading and caching thing that does happen with this particular game. It doesn't seem to be something that we can avoid, unfortunately, but if you want the absolute best gaming performance, then this is it, I think. It's definitely the RedMagic 10 Pro. And onto the video performance now with our RedMagic 10 Pro. This is the ultra-wide electronic image stabilization, 4K 30 or 60. I'm shooting in 4K 30 to match my video. And if I apply now some digital zoom, I will bring it up now to 1 times. You can see that it looks like there was no transition there, so it's not swapping the camera. It's going to continue to use that ultra wide and just crop in. And the front-facing camera, what we've seen before with the under-display cameras with RedMagic is that the quality not good because the sensor has to look through and around the pixels of the screen. Even though those pixels in that area aren't that densely populated, they're not so close together, it still has this kind of washed out look to it. And it's almost like a beautifying filter, but I've turned it all off, the beautifying effects, which you can put on if you want. And then you'll notice that it is shaking around a bit, and that's because there is no electronic image stabilization. You can shoot 1080p only with this front-facing camera at 30 frames per second. So disappointing, not for vloggers, the front camera. RedMagic with the selfies and portraits, they have used with the front-facing camera an enhancement, an AI kind of enhancement to sharpen things up a little bit, but I don't like it at all. It looks fake, there's like skin smoothing, it's filling in the gaps really because of the UDC camera. Not great at all, the front-facing camera. The ultra-wide camera, which is 50 megapixels, and that's 14mm, it's okay. I didn't have brilliant conditions, it was a bit overcast, but these shots came out just fine. The main camera, which has optical image stabilization, can take a decent photo. I have noticed that it will tend to oversaturate reds. You can see with a shot of the 3 cats that I have, the red hibiscus flower there is a bit oversaturated and overblown. Bright colored flowers like these ones right here tended to be, again, oversaturated a bit. It just seems to be a common tendency of this phone. Low light with the ultra wide was disappointing, but the main camera, this comes out surprisingly good. I think the optical image stabilization does help a lot with the low light shots, and overall much better I think than the daytime shots. The low light with the main camera has surprised me. A good gaming phone should have very good speakers, which this does have. They are good. I like them. I like what I'm hearing. Good volume to them, a little bit of bass. And the haptics, as I mentioned before, there was strong little pulses. Not the strongest. I wish it was slightly more powerful, but overall, really not bad. It's a good experience here. And as you hear from my sample I'm going to play now, these speakers are good. And what I absolutely love is the fact that we have this course, 3.5mm, perfect for gamers and people out there that maybe just still want that analog 3.5mm and you don't want to use Bluetooth. Well, this is the phone to get that has that. So the sample I'm going to play now, it's at 100%. You hear that our volume is good. There is some bass. Overall, decent speakers, good audio experience with the RedMagic 10 Pro. Rectangular design to it. It doesn't have a ugly, uncomfortable camera module that sticks out the back. So when you're gaming, you don't have that in the way. I like the fact that it is flush. We get those very slim bezels, 144 Hertz, a flat screen with no ugly, distracting notch or cutout. But as I showed you, video performance from the front-facing camera there is downright terrible. Selfie performance, not good at all. It has improved, yes, for under-display cameras, but it's still not going to be able to match or compete at all with a traditional camera setup. So if you're someone that's always taking selfies of yourself to post on Instagram or shooting vlog video, avoid this phone. But if you're someone that wants consistent gaming frame rates, good thermals, it will get warm, it will get hot, yes, but it maintains that performance, hardly any throttling at all, then the RedMagic 10 Pro is the phone for you. You also get the 3.5mm headphone jack. Sadly, no micro SD card support, which would make this almost perfect. There is video out, so it's either extended display or mirrored. And what they mean by extended is you can stretch out screens to your full monitor resolution depending on what app you're running. It's app-based for that, but it's got an excellent build quality. Their performance is absolutely fantastic. And RedMagic, they've done a good job. They keep tweaking it, and we have, I still think, the best in terms of gaming performance when it comes to Android gaming phones. So if that's what you want, this is the phone to go for. Thanks a lot for watching this review.